so it's going to be hard to do it, but let's get to it. Who's ready for some boom, baby, boom, rise and shine? It's upside down umbrella time. Let me flip this in. Yes, there we go. Your boy Marky Saint. I got to get the show on the road because, I do this every morning. Even if it's dripping raining, even if it's a little 15 degrees outside, I still want to rise and shine and figure out myself and go for a walk and talk and park and spark and show out the new haircut, you know what I'm saying? And I just wanted to be free, and then all of a sudden you get out and it's like rainy. Oh shit. Yeah, my whole system's under some attack. So let's get into it, shall we? Shall we? Your boy Marky Saint likes to rise and shine every morning, and this morning we're going to talk about knowing yourself, because you want to know yourself. This was part of the blind spots I was talking about yesterday. Like all of us, we got these blind spots that we don't want to see. We don't want anybody else to see, and we don't want to believe, but they exist. They exist in everybody. And let me park and spark real quick. I don't think I have that much time for it, but yeah, it's a little cold outside, but this is how life is. Life isn't easy. It happens to us all, lemon squeezy. But to know why we are acting the way that we are, or what our purpose is in life, or what we're aiming to do, literally depends on you. It literally depends on how much research you do, how much attention you pay to yourself. You got to pay attention, and then how much of it are you willing to correct? You know what I mean? Let's go. Come on. Come on. There we go. I don't think it's going to work this way with this wind. I might have to go this way with it. But, paying attention to ourselves, to our own self, be true, whether it's nobler in the mind or you're noble to your mind, is really what it's about. I was listening to your boy Neville Goddard, and he was saying the whispers that we speak to our soul. And I was like, ooh, that kind of hit home. I like the way that sounds, that when you whisper to yourself, do you actually listen to yourself? Or are you the type of person to not listen at all and make it up as you go along? And that's why I end up having this conversation. Here comes the beast, so let's let this guy go by. You know what I mean? And you say, oh shit, I'm that way. Yeah, this thing doesn't want to stay in, if you know what I'm saying. Like, oh shit, I act this way. I treat myself this way because maybe I didn't have a relationship with my father, or my mom was domineering, or that I'm too shy. There's so many different ways that we all approach things that we need to have in our head. Let me get behind the screen here. That we can all have this conversation. If we're willing to do the shadow work, if we're willing to pause long enough for the cause to take effect, it's a hard little conversation. Look at this, fucking trees are going crazy. But, it's something that, especially on a gloomy day, like you have to ask yourself, like, do I say things to myself that are helpful? Or do I hinder myself under stress and constant criticism and automatic negative thoughts? There's the ants. You got to kill the ants, the automatic negative thoughts. This is something only you know how you whisper to your soul. That's why I meant know yourself, because a lot of us, we're just in action mode. And it's like lights, camera, action. It takes place. We don't know what scene it is. We don't know what part of the movie it is, and we don't even know what our character does. But if I were to ask you to break down each different character in like Inglourious Bastards or Reservoir Dogs or Pulp Fiction, you'd be like, oh yeah, this character is the protagonist. This one's gonna do this one's gonna do that. You're asking for your own motivation, right? Like if you were with a director, you're like, what's my motivation, And motivation, to be able to get motivated and say, okay, my motivation is to be a character that was an underdog that ends up becoming a top dog, or my character is a misunderstood character. He's an artist, and maybe he just wants to express himself through his music, or what's the other ones, like girls is like Eat, Pray, Love. I going through an internal journey to find myself. We all are characters in a movie. It's just like, what character are you playing? Congratulations, you played yourself. We're all playing ourselves. We're the only ones we got. You know what I mean? And this is why it's such an important conversation to have, because we're all we got. You know, we don't have somebody else out there to be us. Every time you show up, you're only going to show up as you. I went through years of depression, and I'm like, I'm not going to wake up as Shaquille O'Neal. I'm not going to wake up as 7 foot 1 inch. I'm not going to have his riches, and it's not my life. You know, when you go into the bank, they're going to be like, let me see some ID, and that's you. You know, and the only way that that's going to, you can count on your bank to grow is if you expand your energy. Right? Like, do you know your own energy? Are you the type of person to bring a lot of good energy? Or are you the type of person where you need a lot of energy? You know, a lot of people are too much. You know, say too much is too much. Too much is too much. Is this Korea? I see you, girl. I see you. Annyeonghaseyo. Get the book and door. I was in South Korean prison, yo. So it's one of these things where we are a character in our own movie, and sometimes you're an NPC, a non-player character, where you don't make a difference at all. You don't want to change. You don't want anything else to change, so nothing will change. That's fine. You can be apathetic if you want to, or you can be the leading man that becomes confident, and he becomes confident because he's faced trials and tribulations, just like a Herculean efforts that you have to go slay 7 different dragons or a hydra of activities, and then he's the strong man. He comes up on top. Or are you the man that just wants to, woman that just wants to build a life with somebody and go off into the sunset holding hands on a beach? Most people haven't vision tripped long enough to figure that part out. They haven't manifested enough or sat long enough with it to say, okay, yeah, this is what I want my character to do in this movie. You know, like I said, only you can write the next chapter. And it's like most of us aren't concentrating on what chapters we write. We just keep going in day after day, and we don't shape our days, and this is why they don't stack in our favor. A lot of Neville Goddard was talking about, or no, it was it Ray Kroc? No, who was it that I was watching? Oh, Napoleon Hill. Napoleon Hill was talking, and it was just like day after day, it's the discipline that counts. That you can count on yourself to add to the story. That you can create this whole. You're a writer. You're not only a writer, you're not only an actor, you're the director. It's this whole movie set is for you, and this movie is your life. And to be able to say, okay, I want my life to go in this direction, and be bold enough to direct yourself in that direction, that's a movie. That's your life movie. And you're going to say, is this character always going to stay shy? Is this character always going to blame his parents? Am I going to let my days just keep going over and over again, or am I going to do something different to get something in the end? How would I like the ending to be? A lot of people don't end up thinking about this till they're too old for it to happen. I know I was listening to that hospice nurse, and I keep mentioning her because it was so profound to me, but she was working where people died, and they gave her advice, and they go, oh, I wish I never listened to my next door neighbor, or I wish I spent more time with my kids, or I wish I was more brave and did more things. Little too late at the hospice, you know, when you're already elderly, but right now, this is your movie, and it's going every day, action, action, action. And like I told my partner, Mass, I said, like, bro, action cures regret. It literally stops you from saying, oh, man, I woulda, coulda, shoulda. To I came, I saw, I conquered. And not all of us are going to be what's his name? I keep thinking Mark Anthony, or Cleopatra, or even Caesar. Everybody, not everybody can be Caesar, but we can be the leader in our and lead our story into areas that we didn't even never think it would even happen. Even when I'm editing the videos right now for this, all the shorts, it's just like, wow, dude, I can't believe all the places that I've been. And then I flavor trip and close my eyes, and I just like rush, and next thing I know, I'm with the Christ the Redeemer in Rio de Janeiro, or I rush and I'm touching the walls of Angkor Wat and hitting my chest so I can hear the echoes, or climbing the steep walls of the Great Wall of China. I'm just going whoosh, 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 whoosh. And then I go into my eyes, and I close my eyes, and I have, what are my earliest memories? And I was just like, oh, me being on the monkey bars and impressing the girls, or, teaching myself how to ride a bike when I was 8 years old, or, just going camping with my family when I was a kid. All these things build into this like big old memory box, and I start getting giddy. This character has things that make me smile. If I have my eyes open and I go through my reality, it'll be distorted. It'll be like all the relationships that didn't work and failures, and then I listen to Nicky Lauda, and he gets on here and says failures made me stronger. Everybody wants to get these accomplishments. Everybody wants the touchdown. They want the end of the movie, but you still have to live through the middle of it. You still have to shape these scenes and say, what's the scene that I want to have? I want to have the lovemaking scene, find the love of my life, make love on the beach, and then we walk off into the sunset. Write it out. And you'd be so surprised when you let that stuff come out, how real it becomes. And this is why I'm having this conversation this morning. I went out for my smoke, but when you take action, even a little seed, they were saying a mustard seed moves a mountain. Well, you're like, how's that possible? Well, you're watching trees grow, and I've seen trees literally split rocks, so it ends up becoming a real thing. It's like little things, like you're like, how's the Grand Canyon being shaped? Well, years of these little drips of water going from spot to spot, all of a sudden carved the whole Grand Canyon. It's just these little bits of extra effort and disciplines and things that we put effort into really turn into big motions. They turn into big trees. They grow as you please, but you got to be able to plan it. And I was just on the phone with one of these Sagittarius. She's like, I won't do anything till it's perfected. And then literally nothing gets done. She'll give herself multiple tasks, but then she's spread out too thin, and then nothing gets completed. You got to ask yourself, how do you want each scene to end? How do you want it to shape? Who's in the scene? And shape that whole dream. It's almost like the Matrix, where he's walking around and all the people are just walking by, but then the girl comes by in red, and of course that gets his eye. But this is like, do you have a lady in red? Do you have somebody that's gonna come into the show, and then you meet that person, and then you make love to that person, and they're the love of your life? Or are you the type of person who's gonna be solitary and alone and be a nomad out into the forest? Literally, you can be either. You can be Ted Kaczynski, your boy, the Unabomber, just all by himself writing all these manifests and blowing people up. Or you could get a glow up and show people that the underdog can get on top and doesn't have to go through all these things, but can manifest the things that they wanted and said they called their shot. And that's a beautiful thing. So this is why I'm having this conversation this morning. This is why it's so important to know yourself and say, okay, I'm this type of character, but I want my character to go this way. I want them to be in this scene. I want them to be on set, on location, where I decide in my dreams. And that's where it starts. That's the mustard seed. That's what starts to grow in your mind and separates the rocks and eventually carves the whole Grand Canyon. It's our mindset. And it's huge to have the mindset in mind of like, how does my mind work? How do I work? What's my character's name, you know? And it doesn't have to be a video game. This is your real life. Life is the game, and it's the best game going. So I highly encourage you to get out and shape your life. I highly encourage you to manifest, close your eyes, and shape the reality that you want instead of living it and just go like, oh, it's just happening. No, you're making it happen, and give yourself some credit for doing that. Make it happen, Captain is one of my shirts, but also that you're the one shaping it and giving yourself more empowerment to say, I'm the one that's deciding how my days are unfolding. I'm the one that's deciding how my days end and where I'm going. So if we give ourselves more empowerment and decisiveness and saying, I'm the one that's choosing this journey, I'm the one that's shaping it, and I want it to shape into my reality, then you got Saints Addiction, then you get the morning motivation. And if you got anything out of this, you already know, like, share, and subscribe below. I'm done with my smoke break, but I'll see you on the other side. I always say peace and love, and as always, Chigathon. That means goodbye, but not forever in Phoenix. And I will see you on the other side as soon as you like, share, and subscribe. But the other side of your fear, the other side of your excuses, and the other side of the world, because that's where I'll be, and that's peace. And I hope that you understand what I'm saying, because it's like a lot of people are just themselves. I'm just me, it is what it is. No, it is what you make it. And a lot of people just don't want to concentrate on it long enough to shape it. And that's why I'm having this conversation this morning, because it is a deeper knowing of yourself to say, okay, I'm this way, and I want to be this way, and this is how I want my story to end. The end. Peace. I hope you have a blessed day. And I don't read Korean, but I can always Google translate that message later. Have a blessed day.